everybody. My name is Sam Jordan, and I'm an addict.
Hi, Sal.
My voice doesn't carry very far, so kind of deal with me, okay? I used to be able to yell pretty loud, but not anymore. Okay, this is my first time doing this, so I'm a little nervous. I started experimenting with alcohol and marijuana when I was about 13 years old. And at that time, it was just a cool thing to do. And I had got my first job, and it was a small job, a couple hours a day after school, unloading trucks and loading trucks. So I was the only 13, 14-year-old out there on the streets at night that had money for beer, you know? And I didn't really get carried away with it. It was just a weekend thing, you know? Now when I was about 15 years old, at this time of my life, Vietnam was going on. And a lot of you young guys aren't familiar with Vietnam. It was a very crazy time in this country when the draft was going on. And things were just crazy, very chaotic and nuts. Well, there was a message on my mother's door that she had a message out at the post office. And my mom thought it was a bill, so she didn't bother going to get it. Well, my brother-in-law, at this time my brother was in Vietnam. My brother-in-law was in the Navy, and he was home on leave. And he felt that the message was about my brother. So we went and got the message, and that's what it was. My brother had gotten wounded in Vietnam. And he stepped on a landmine and lost both his legs above the knee. And I had to go home and hand this letter to my mother, you know. And I remember it like yesterday. The whole house went nuts. I got two brothers, two sisters, fairly large family. And when my brother finally came stateside, my mother didn't realize what she was doing, but she was getting me out of school to go to the hospital with him, to see him. Well, guys, you know, we all want to be a bunch of badasses, right? I've seen war. I've seen what it does. I've seen the blood. I've seen the crying at 15 years old. And I couldn't handle all this. It tore me up. It fucked me up big time. So to relieve it, I turned to drugs. I turned to hanging out with worse people than you could ever find, you know? As time went on, the alcohol and marijuana went to using acid, microdot acid, Tubanols, Valiums, Quaaludes, drinking, passing out on the streets, really getting fucked up. But I kept working, you know. I always had a job, always had a place to live, always had money in my pocket. I don't know how I did it. Thinking now, how did I do it? But I did it. Well, all this time that I'm partying, I'm getting into fights, I'm getting assaults, and I'm going to the county jail, I'm getting out. All this petty shit. Well, I finally graduated. By the time I was 25, I made it to prison. When I went to prison, all I did was pump iron, and then ran into some real bad, evil people that were devil worshippers. I carried satanic power. Okay? The 2 years I did in that prison, I got big and I got mean. And I'm talking mean. I'd bite your ear. I was just bad news. I got out of prison. Somehow I stayed on the street for 2 years. Somehow. The first time I went in was for arson. I set a bar on fire. I got in a fight with the bouncers and set it on fire. I was going to win that fight one way or another. they caught me, they broke my leg, they broke my ribs, gave me multiple concussions. They put me right straight in the hospital. They damn near killed me. They hit me for 45 minutes straight. Well, there I went back to prison again. What do you think happened? You think I learned my lesson? No. I went right back straight to that white pile. Right back with them evil people and got bigger. Well, towards the end of my time, I started getting scared of the prison system, of how it was absorbing me. So I knew somebody, I knew a girl down here in Dallas. So when I got out, my last prison bit, I did all of it. I maxed out. Like I said, I was a badass. I wasn't going to do no parole. I wasn't going to report to nobody. I wasn't listening to nobody. Well, I came down here. Figured, nobody knows me down here. I can drink all I want. Do all the drugs I want. Nobody would notice me. And by this time, I'm freebasing cocaine. I was freebasing cocaine before crack was around. You know? And my life was so spun out and whacked out, I had no idea. You know? I was just brought up in this very rowdy era when Vietnam was going on. And the draft didn't end until I was 17 and a half. So, through my teenage years, I figured I'm going to war and get blown up like my brother did. I'm going to end up like my brother. You know? So all this crazy shit that I got in my head, I'm down here and I'm surviving. I've got a job. I came down here with nothing. I got off a Greyhound bus, didn't have a dollar to my name, except a girl I knew. Well, I got a job, got on my feet, got a place to live. Now I'm drinking, smoking a little bit of pot. That's all this girl did. She didn't do anything heavy. Well, time went on, and I was managing my addiction. I was keeping it at a level where I could deal with it. And I left all the evil shit, all the prison shit behind me in Jersey. I had enough sense to leave that stuff behind me, or it was going to haunt me for the rest of my life, and I was going to be incarcerated for the rest of my life. Well, somewhere around 38 or 40 years old, when I met my wife, after about 2 or 3 years into the relationship, I found that, let me tell you something, buddy. I found my drug. I found my love of life was meth. It slowly came into existence with me. After about 8 years in my relationship with my wife, 94, I go down on a weapons charge. I get probation. Okay? I'm slowly getting back to Sal again, the Jersey Sal. Slowly getting back to. Well, finally, my wife had enough of this shit. So about 2005, 2006, she divorced me and left. We had a big blowout, okay? Well, I kept the house. I got the house. She left, went back to Maryland, where she was from. So I was the badass, because I got to keep the house. Well, we're not that tough. You know, we bought an old house. Me and her fixed it up. We put doors in, windows in it, fixed the porch. You know, little by little, as we were living there. After about 6 months without her, I got real lonely. You know. Well, I got into a car wreck. Okay, an innocent car wreck. I wasn't drinking, wasn't doing nothing. I got run over by a truck. Well, I got $14,000 out of that accident. Here I was, sitting in an empty house, all by myself, depressed, with $14,000. What do you think happened? What do you think happened?
Che fatto?
All I did was buy dope. I bought whores. I bought dope. I survived for 3 months. After about 3 or 4 months of this sheer madness, I smoked meth for 3 months straight. I'm being honest with you guys, I don't know when I slept. Okay? I'm still managing a job. I'll never forget this. I was coming in from Atlanta. I stopped somewhere, a truck stop, and take a shower. I accidentally stepped in front of the mirror. And I went, so who the fuck is that? I was all. I was fucked up. I was fucked up. But that didn't stop me. Didn't stop me from being. Through this short time, this heavy use of meth, it changed how I thought about everything. I mean, I just came unglued as to who I was. Well, I managed to get a job as a contractor working on high-line wires. One thing about me, no matter how fucked up I got, I always managed to get a job. Don't ask me how, but I did. And I managed to get up and go to work. But the method was slowly changing me. The deal with working with these high-line wires is your big money is in storms. Well, I worked an ice storm out in Kansas, and I made $3,500 cash. What do you think I did with that $3,500? Sat in that trailer and just smoked up. My crew was coming on my door, banging on my door for me to go to work. What did I do? I just sat there smoking dope. All my work ethics, everything that I believed in, disappeared. Fellas, we're talking about turning into a screw caboose. I was just doing things that were beyond my belief, beyond my recognition of what I think a man should do and what a man shouldn't do. Before I came to Souls Harbor, I was living at a crack house. I lived there for about 5 weeks. Homeless, taking a shower with a garden hose, just living on the streets. I'm from this neighborhood. I never knew this place was here. Never did. A friend of mine told me about it. I walked here from Simon's Road, Singleville, trailer park. On my way here, I realized what I had become, who I was. And it scared the hell out of me. Scared the living shit out of me. I said, who the fuck am I? What the fuck am I doing? I was a professional truck driver. You know, made 50, 60 grand a year. Always had a nice car. Always wore nice clothes. What the fuck happened? I walked through that door right there. About 4 years ago. This June would be 4 years. And when I walked in here, I decided it was it. I'm done. Why I never thought this before, I'll never know. But I said I'm done. What I didn't realize is the giants I had ahead of me. What I had to conquer, being sober. Because I was fucked up for 30 years. I always had a beer in my hand. You know, when I was doing the math, I was always coming down or I was coming back up. So, for about the first year I was here, when I sobered up, things got tough for me. Things got real tough for me. Back in the day, before we had Bible study, me and Rick used to have our own Bible study in the kitchen. And I must have asked Rick 1,000 times. When is it going to get better? When is it going to get better? You know, because it wasn't getting easier being sober. I mean, the dope wasn't there. Every time I felt bad, every time something was going on, I didn't have anything to self-induce myself with. I didn't have that alcohol. You know, it wasn't there. After about a year and a half into my sobriety, I finally realized that my attitude was all fucked up. That I was doing this to myself. I was winding myself up, which that was going to cause me to use again. Okay? But I want you guys to realize this. That when you say to yourself, enough is enough, and enough is enough, it's not just putting the drink down. That's the first step. You know, admitting that you have a problem with alcohol, drugs, pills, smoking weed, whatever it is. If it's a mind-altering drug, it's a mind-altering drug. When you decide to go the rest of your life without these drugs, that's when you're going to be challenged. That's when you're going to have to find a way to deal with life sober. And for me, okay, I don't know about the rest of you guys, but for me that was quite a challenge. Because I've been wild my whole life. I didn't even think of a Bible until about 5 years ago. I had no religion in my life whatsoever. So, to take everything and turn it over to God and take a back seat was a very big step for me. Very big step. But I knew if I didn't do that, I was going to relapse. It's just a matter of time. Right, you know, being in the right place at the wrong time, and bam, it's going to happen. But I noticed going to Bible study. I used to go to church and Bible study. Surrounding myself with these type of people was giving me a different lift on life. It was giving me a chance to be sober. Okay? So, here I am now, almost 3 years sober. And I figure I got this thing whooped. Right? Well, last Wednesday, I was diagnosed with throat cancer. And now I don't have the answers. You know? I walked out of that doctor's office, and I walked out to the parking lot where my motorcycle was. And I stood there. I looked at my motorcycle. And I said, well, if you're going to use, now's the time to do it. You know? But I keep hearing that doctor say to me, you know, because I told the doctor I was an alcoholic and a drug addict. And the doctor told me, he said, number one, I better operate soon. You're not going to live very long. Number two, I know you're upset, but if you decide to go out and drink, I'm not going to operate on you. So if you go out and drink, you're going to sign your death sentence. I'm not young, but I'm only 55. You know, I've done so much damage to my body that I have a very large tumor in my voice box. And they're going to have to remove it. And who knows what else they're going to have to go in there and remove. So what I'm doing is I'm turning this over to God. Okay? Because if I dwell on this long enough, I'm going to go drink. I'm going to go use some drugs on me. You know, be stupid about this. If they don't remove it, I'm going to die. And I don't want to die. Not yet anyways. So that's why I decided to come up here and speak tonight. Especially your younger guys. You know, and the older gentlemen here too. Don't wait till it's too late, man, till your health is gone. You know, I know you guys sit here and you don't have no money And most of you don't have a girlfriend or a wife or family that even speaks to you. You know? But you're all healthy. You know? We eat good. You know? This is a beginning. You know, to stay sober and have a good life. Instead of, when I look back, I can't even look back. Because when I look back, it scares the hell out of me. The things I've done and where I've been. I can only look forward. You know? And I'm just going to have to deal with this cancer thing. It's been really running me over. You know, I've been crying and crying and crying. Even when I don't want to cry, I still cry. You know, it's just a monster. But we're going to have our giants in life. You know? And you can choose to run, which I've been doing that my whole life, is running. I'm tired of running. I'm tired of it, so I'm going to deal with it. And I'm going to deal with it the best way I can. You know, and that's stay sober. It might be kind of tough for you guys to stay that way, to stay sober, but even though I've got 3 years sobriety, there's times when I do it minute by minute, not even day by day. I do it just by that morning, you know, get through that morning, get through that afternoon, and then the next morning you wake up sober, you know. I believe in my heart that if a man or a woman wants to stay sober, they're going to find a way to stay sober. Whether it's Souls Harbor, or it's a church, or wherever you go to, whatever works for you. You know? The only thing I can tell you guys is, if you go back to it, it's going to be worse than it was to begin with. Every time I went back to my addiction, it was 10 times worse than what it was to begin with. Dealing with it, you know, all that. So, I don't know how much more time we're going to have up here, but I'm kind of at it. I have things to say.
Any questions for Sal?
Does anybody have any questions?
Let me, thank you, Sal. Let's give him a